Today is January 26th, 2016, and this is our weekly Business Owners Mastermind call. This call is put on every single Tuesday morning at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time. So if this is your first time ever being on this call, you want to keep that phone number and that meeting ID because it will never, God willing, it will never change. So every single Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, you can count on myself showing up to this call and bringing it every week. So if you want access to the recordings of the calls that have happened, we are on, I believe this is going to be episode number 70. And so if you want to get access to all the calls that we've done in the past, you simply go to johnpyron.com, so JOHN, P as in Paul, YRON.com. Underneath the video, there's a little button there called Podcast. Take that information, put it in your phone, whether it's an Android or an iPhone, and those calls will automatically come to you every single week. So if you're traveling, unable to make the call, want to download the call and keep it for future reference, that's how you do it. That's how you get it for free. This call is sponsored by California Capital Women's Business Center, which is a division of the Small Business Administration in Sacramento, California. So they specialize in helping small business owners structure their businesses, develop their business plans to get a small business loan. If you're not in the Sacramento area, trust me, there is an organization, a nonprofit organization in your area that is there for that purpose. So if you need help in finding those types of organizations, just send me an email, direct message, or get a hold of me somehow, and I'll connect you with somebody who focuses on that area. The other thing is it's sponsored by 10X Consulting Group, LLC, which is a company that I founded with two other business partners, and that's what we do. So every week we try to bring the best content. Today I'm particularly excited because I have one of my clients that has just been super successful. Her name is Stephanie Scheller, and Stephanie and I started working together about 2 years ago. And I got to tell you, man, this woman not only started her own business from scratch, but she has just absolutely exploded her company. And so let me give you a little brief intro to Stephanie, and I'm going to bring Stephanie on the call, and then we're going to get to our topic today, which is running effective prospect appointments. Before I introduce Stephanie, I want to also point out is write down your questions, because Stephanie and I are going to play a little ping pong back and forth here on this topic, and then we want to take your questions, answer them live on the call, give you some coaching today. So Stephanie Scheller. So Stephanie's worked with more than 500 businesses in the past 5 years. At 25 years old and using the same system she teaches, she has built a business from scratch in less than 5 months to replace her full-time income. I remember because you called me up and said, I'm quitting, and it was 2 weeks early. And she walked away from her corporate job to run her own company dedicated to disrupting the way the world goes into business through sales, marketing, and systems. Stephanie is also the #1 best-selling author of the book Friend Power, How the Friends You Choose Can Change Your Life. She's co-host of the blog talk radio phenomenon Black Belt Selling, and our special guest today. So, Stephanie, are you there?
I am here. Can you hear me?
I can. Hey, great. Thanks a lot for coming on the call. I'm sitting there reading your bio. I'm like, man, it's gone by quick. Time goes
oh, my gosh,
by.
Right? It's hard to believe. I look back, I'm like, oh, my gosh, I can barely. I was talking with a guy earlier today, and he goes, he just made the transition about 9 months ago, walked away from his job, started his own coaching practice, and he goes, when I finally did it, I couldn't believe it happened, and he goes, and now I can't believe it's 9 months later, and I just laughed. I was like, I feel the exact same way.
I know. I can remember when it was this time 2 years ago.
Yep.
I was leading an organization. You were a part of that organization, and a couple of months later, we started working one-on-one. And the first question I asked you, okay, what do you want to accomplish? He goes, I want to fire my job. I want to quit my job, and I want to build my own business. And you've done it. Not only did you do it, but you went out and wrote a book. I mean, you are very well known now, and I'm very proud of you, number one. And I'm really honored to be on the call with you today. So thanks a lot for being here.
Absolutely.
And so I want to ask you, so we're talking about today, right? Now that I've generated my leads, I set my appointment, one of the first things that we need to do, is have a plan for going into the first appointment. So when you look at having a first appointment with a client, right? An initial appointment, you've never met them before. What are some of the things that you do to prep for that first appointment?
Well, one of the first things that I will do before I meet with anybody, obviously there's the pre-call where I kind of interview them before I'll even set up the appointment with them. I used to take appointments with anybody who wanted to get on my calendar, and I realized there aren't enough hours in the day for that. So I interview them first, and that usually gives me some information so then I can go online, and I'll do stuff like look up their LinkedIn profile. If they have a website, I like to go check out their website. Try and see what I know about them and what I can bring to the call or to the meeting to add some value for them because, well, to be honest, they're giving me some time, and I totally get it. My time's valuable too, but I certainly don't want to understate how valuable their time is either. So I want to make sure that when we get on that call, we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time reiterating, this is all the information that I've got online about me. I want to spend it delving deeper, getting into some topics they may not have thought about just yet. So I do a lot of research, most of it online. The other thing I'll do, especially if I'm getting ready to meet with someone who's a pretty big deal, I'll reach out to my networks. And I'll say, hey, guys, I'm getting ready to meet with this person. Does anyone know anything about this person that might help me out in this meeting? Or does anybody know this person that they can reach out to them and say, hey, oh, my God, heard you're meeting with Stephanie. You are going to love it. It's, kind of pump them up for that meeting. So, I know you mentioned the friend power thing, and that's a big part of what I do. I talk about how friend power affects every piece of your life, and that's a prime example right there. There's a big joke around San Antonio, which is the city I live in, that San Antonio is the biggest small town you'll ever live in. Everybody knows everybody. So I have a very easy time leveraging that friend power and saying, hey, does anybody happen to know, Gordon Hartman, who's kind of our Robert Kiyosaki of San Antonio. And usually someone in my groups is like, oh, yeah, I know Gordon. I'm like, hey, I'm going to meet with him. Do you mind giving him a heads up that I'm a pretty cool person and he should actually give me the time of day?
To leveraging your network, doing as much. So let me repeat what I think I just heard. So you qualify them, you interview them, you visit their social networks, and so talk to me about the interview. How do you do? One of the things that I've taught on these calls is the power of a 10-minute phone call. I've taught that to you as well, but walk me through what you do. What do you do on a typical interview, a qualification call before you go out and meet with them?
Well, the first thing, and I'll be really clear with this, you've taught me this method. I've heard it before. I use it regularly. Is I don't wing any of these 10-minute calls. I have a system. I have scripts. I have it's laid out. So I'm not getting onto any one of these calls going, oh, let's see where this takes us. Because every time I've done that, I end up on the call for an hour and, get absolutely nowhere. So first things first, I make sure that I'm going to follow my system. Second thing, I ran a mastermind group this weekend, and one of the guest speakers that I brought in runs a $50 million business here in San Antonio. And a guest speaker said, it never ceases to amaze me. People come into my office for kind of our pre-meeting before our real meeting, and they're all expecting to interview me. He said, the first thing I do is I catch them off guard, and I start interviewing them. And so I do pretty much the same thing. Whenever I get on the phone with them, they're sitting there going, okay, well, I'm looking at potentially hiring this girl. Let me interview her to see if she's going to be a good fit for me. And I go, no, you don't get it. You've got lots of options of people out there. I only have a few options of people that I want to work with. It's my turn to interview you. I control the conversation right off the bat and just launch into the questions that I have laid out for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because most people, and this is something I've gotten very resonated with over the last 12 months, is I used to take any client and every client. When you're first starting out in business, when you're literally opening the doors, and you don't have any cash flow. I mean, you kind of got to do that in the beginning. You're going to take anything and everything, but with the goal and the intention of building your business to a point where you can be very picky and choosy about the clients that you bring on.
Yeah.
And so the power of qualifying and interviewing them is not just to see if you're a fit for them, but to see if they are a fit for you. When you flip it like that, I don't know if you found this out, but I'm a lot happier waking up and taking calls from clients because they're the clients that they want. And so, one of the things, kind of as a tip for everyone, is, when you're setting the appointment, whether it's going to be the initial appointment, the 10-minute phone call or an actual appointment, don't be in a hurry to get off the phone or out the door. Ask the prospect what does he or she hopes to accomplish in the meeting. And just asking that one question can make all the difference in the world. So what are some of the questions that you ask when you're interviewing people on the phone, when you're qualifying?
When I'm qualifying people, one of the first questions I like to ask them is, hey, when you started this business, almost everyone can relate to this. When they went into business for themselves, they had this dream in their head about what their business would look like when they got there. And so the first question, did you have that dream in your head? And usually there's a pretty sheepish little yes. I'm like, okay, what did that dream look like to you? And I get, this and that, and everyone loves to tell that dream because, they don't get the chance to share that very often. I don't know anybody else who likes to go in and ask, hey, what was when you started your business, you had a dream of what it would look like when you made it. And what does that look like? What does that look like for you? And they just go off and they love sharing it because, they don't have that opportunity. So to relate that on a broader scale, find a question that people in your industry don't ask very often and give your prospect a chance to answer that question in a way that's going to let you know who your prospect is. Because when this is what I get out of that. It tells me how big they think. If they tell me, honestly, I just started my own company because I wanted to make $50,000 a year to, so that I could be my own boss. If they tell me that, then I know they're not the type of big thinker that I'm looking for. I want to work with the companies who want to go national or international. That's the company I want to work with. I want to work with a company that's going to change the world. I don't want to work with someone who wants to make $50,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
So find the question.
Let's talk about somebody that that's not doing coaching, right? That's not doing consulting or coaching, and they're actually selling a product or service, right? So I'll give you an example. Let's just say that you own a company where you go out and you assess, there's these big companies out there that make these huge investments into solar energy and these solar, fields, right? And, let's just say you own a business where you go out and you audit those fields. You audit those fields and you make sure that, those companies are getting the return on that investment, that, you're measuring all the different aspects of that type of technology and you're providing reports. How would somebody like that, what kind of questions would, because that person's typically not dealing with the CEO, or if they are, they got to go through the CFO or somebody like that. And so if somebody's making a call to a company what are some of the questions that somebody like that could ask to qualify or interview them ahead of time?
So to make sure I've got the scenario kind of laid out here in my head, we're talking about, in this specific example, someone who goes out and their target audience is a company who has invested in solar fields, in solar energy, and the person we're talking about is going to this company offering to audit the solar energy, the solar fields that the company has purchased to make sure that they're getting the return on the investment, right?
Yeah. Tell you what, I know of, the only reason I'm asking this particular question because I know the individual is actually on the call. So I'm not going to mention the person's name, but they know who they are, and if you would like to come on this call, and Stephanie and I are going to help you customize your 10-minute interview. So you know who you are. If you want to come on this live call and get some live coaching right now, press *6 and introduce yourself, and we'll help you through this scenario.
Awesome. Yeah, I would absolutely love to. I love doing the live coaching. I teamed up with a group of, giving them a chance to hit *6, by the way. I teamed up with a group of ladies. It's 5 ladies, 5 generations, and once a week we get on a live blab, and we offer coaching to people out there who are interested in getting feedback from 5 different generations of perspectives on world and business. And so I love doing this type of stuff.
Yeah, because we talk about it all day. Hey, I was hoping you were still there, dude.
I was. I actually had to step out, but I came back, and I timed it perfectly.
Nice.
Fantastic. So now everybody else that's listening, we're going to call on you next. So anybody else that wants help in this area, we're going to bring you on as well. So Anastasia, so Stephanie and I have a pretty clear background of what you do, right? So can you give Stephanie a quick background of what you do, and typically, currently, how do you qualify your appointments? And then we're going to give you some help in improving that.
Sounds good. So Stephanie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So the company is PV Amps, and we basically do health assessments for solar farms, make sure that they are meeting their requirements, both from a performance perspective and from a operational perspective. We go through and commission the systems, retro commission, and then we work with basically data analytics to scrub what's going on in the system and make sure it meets all of the international certifications that show that it's performing the way it's supposed to. And then we work with operators and owners on corrective actions and how to improve the operational efficiency of that plant so that it increases the revenue generation. And the 2 kind of main customers we work with are asset owners who are looking to sell an asset, and normally they try and sell it to a bank, and so the bank needs the certifications that I provide, or to an operator who's entrusted with maximizing that asset so that they know that they're staying on track and meeting their contractual obligations, but then also when they initially take over a project, they do risk assessments, and we come in and look at how that plant is working and help them define the risk of taking on this new asset and what that's going to mean to their portfolio and to their operational needs for that project.
Awesome.
So one of the kind of the main qualifiers that we start looking at is, what stage of the project are you in, and what's the value to this? There's a lot of different rate structures in terms of how they get compensated. It's either a direct reimbursement per amount of energy from a utility, or there is renewable energy credits, or there's different tax structures. And some of them are debt equity, some of them are cash flow. And so we try and figure out what stage of the project they're in, because that really affects the value for them. And then the next question is
when you're first calling a prospect, right?
Yep.
your first question is, okay, what stage of the project are you in? Typically, who are you calling at this point? Is it the CEO, CFO, project manager? Who's the audience typically you're going after?
So the main audience, if it's an operations group, it's usually either a director or a president who's maintaining that group. We really like starting there because of the relationships we have, because they can influence which package they go for. If it's a bank, say we work with Wells Fargo, are they looking to assess that project and clean it up a bit, or are they looking to sell it? And those are slightly different things. We still do the same kind of service, but it lets us know how immediately they need to act on something. Is this a $400 million transaction, and if they don't get the right valuations and certs on it, it could really go on the street for 320 or 290, because people, just like when you buy or sell a house, they need a home inspector, if you will, to see what's going on with that piece of real property and what needs to be fixed, and then that's used in the bargaining for the asset. So stage is critical.
So when you do the initial call, right? What challenges are you having right now in qualifying, or are you pretty tight on qualifying?
Pretty tight on qualifying now. Some of the projects, it depends on the customers. For operational groups, they're pretty well qualified. For owners who are looking to do transactions, they keep a lot of that information really close to the vest, even if we have an NDA with them, because they don't like signaling some of that stuff. And so sometimes we'll find that they're just looking to get an assessment, but really someone's trying to put a perspective on the market. And so we tend to lean towards them being able to do that because we found that to be the case. So the other question we usually ask, Sorry to interrupt you. There's from a time standpoint, I want to make sure that we're able to help you here today. So when you go to run the appointment, right, whether it's the qualifying appointment or the full-blown face-to-face or Skype in-person appointment, is there any challenges would you like to improve in any of those areas? Do you have any challenges in those areas? How can we best help you on today's call? So one of the things that I'm looking to find help with is, let's see, the client qualifying questions are usually around stage of project and then budget allotment for this kind of information, determining what it's worth to them. And one of the challenges we have is that in solar there's a variety of mechanisms, and narrowing down what they're being compensated for is hard to get, and so having a time and materials is kind of a fallback to the how we look at pricing, and so trying to figure out the value to the customer depending on who the customer is and what their project stage is one of the challenges we face in terms of getting them to cross that line from we're looking at doing this to we need to do this and we're willing to, we have this kind of a budget in mind for this kind of job.
Okay. So being able to qualify it, being able to identify, getting them to open up more about what's really behind the curtain, right?
Yeah, correct. Are you interested, and then are you monetarily incentivized to move forward with this or not?
Sure.
Yeah.
And so, Steph, what do you have for Anastasios in this situation?
Well, so the first question is, what are you currently asking them, and are you getting the idea that they're not being honest with you? Because that's assuming that you're asking something and you're not getting straight answers from them, or has it just been you haven't figured out a way to ask it, and so you have just kind of skirted around the issue so far?
So we've asked indirectly some of the pricing because we do have other competitors in the market, and we know that the general indication we get is that they're high. And the question we're trying to figure out is, are they $100,000 too high, or are they $20,000 too high? And so, the other thing is, what's the value for the? No, I'll just stick to that question. It's hard to figure out what other people are charging, and there seems to be a broader range for the price, and the amount of quality of service that they get back seems to vary quite significantly in the field, mostly because a lot of this stuff is new. A lot of transactions are usually on a 5-year time scale, and most solar systems are just starting some of those transaction processes, and so the field for this kind of service is fairly new, but it's starting to grow. And so some of them don't have information. Some of them may have worked with another group that they've worked with before, and they just kept them at the same standard rate, even though the service that they provided may not have been equitable for that rate, but they were the only ones to do it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So my first thought is that there's definitely something to be said for confidence in this type of situation. I've worked with one client who I'm sure the price points are nowhere near similar, but he sells photo booths. You go to, I don't know if it's popular over there, but you go to an event, there's a booth set up, you go inside with your friends, someone takes a bunch of pictures, you come out, they put it, you've got an attendant. So he sells these photo booths, and he's had a lot of trouble where, the price points across San Antonio are all over the market. He's got people offering it for $200 and people offering it for $1,500. And he's right about the middle. And he said, I've always tried to match their prices, but I can't match $200 anymore. And trying to get them to tell me what the price point is frustrating. And I said, well, to be totally honest with you, you have to be confident in your own price points, in what you're willing to charge them. And there is something to be said for saying, hey, we would love to work with you. We need, in order to make this happen, we need total transparency, total honesty with each other. So I'm going to ask you a question here that you may not be inclined to answer, but these are my rates. This is what I've already told you I'm going to charge you. I need you to be totally honest with me so I can take a fair assessment of our relationship right now. What kind of quotes have you received from other people? Can you give me at least ballparks? $100,000 higher, $100,000 lower? What are we talking about differences between me and them? It may not impact my price unless they're offering a service that I've not included in this quote, and I want to wrap it in for you. But there's something very strongly said for having a lot of confidence in the numbers you quote them, knowing what works for you, and then eventually, instead of trying to gauge the marketplace and saying, oh, well, I'm leaving money on the table. Let me figure out what money I'm leaving on the table there. Let me ask the client, who's now sitting there going, oh, he's going to increase the price because he thinks that I can afford the higher. Or let me ask the client, and the client's going, are you telling me you could have gone lower? So I have a huge belief in staying very confident in your own pricing and be very transparent, be very honest with them. The attitude you come into that conversation with is going to heavily impact how your question is going to be received. So if you come into it from a place of, I want to serve my company, make sure my company gets taken care of, but I also want to serve you and make sure you get the best product on the market, or the best, in this case, service on the market, then there don't tend to be as many questions about, oh, well, the skirting dancing thing around the price point tends to be something that sketchy sales reps tend to do to try and get a higher price point and a higher commission. And I teach people not to try and come from that position because you don't want to get lumped in with those sketchy sales reps. So John may have another perspective for you, though, too.
Go ahead.
Real quick on that one of the reasons we're trying to gauge is we're also looking to maximize a client's return. We kind of know what our cost to serve is. We know what our price points are to be able to go out there. One of the things that we're looking at this is a qualifier, if you will. Is this project of the right size to utilize our service, or is it too small that this may not be a good fit for what they're looking. There may be another service provider at their point that offers a modified service or a smaller scope of service that would fit their needs better and their return better, or to know what level of service they truly need, because there's, it's a large, forgive the expression, but it's almost a Chinese menu. There's a fixed amount of things we can do, and which one of these things are important to you. And so one of the things we look at is size of project and what they're getting, but also we want to maximize their return. So which exact services do they need to on this project? Is it a full-blown package, or is it a very limited scope for this specific need?
Mm-hmm. So one of the things I want to point out, because there's a lot of people on the live call, there's going to be a lot of people listening to this recording, and some of you have smaller businesses. Some of you are in different stages of your business, but this is a perfect example of every aspect of sales that you need to deal with when it comes to running an effective prospect appointment. There's several different ways the appointment can go. If you allow it to go down the road of price, it will stay down that road. Okay? One of the biggest myths is that people buy on price. Okay? People will only buy on price if you steer them down that road. Okay? And I'm not talking to you, Anastasios. I'm just talking in general here. Okay? So for everybody's benefit, one of the things that you want to make sure that you don't do, you don't want to be competing on price. Okay? So you compete on price when you don't spend enough time on the value of your services. Okay? I'll give you an example. I was in an actual, one of the things I actually do is I do consulting. Okay? And so consulting is different from coaching, whereas consulting I actually get in there and actually do the actual work. And so for this one particular company, I am their operations and sales director. That's kind of my contract role in building out their national sales team. I was in an actual live situation with an actual client, and the client had been their client for 5 years, but they were paying a very low amount with no contract, just month to month. And went in and established their needs, established the value, and came back with a contract that was almost 120% higher than what they were currently paying. Okay. Long story short, the client wanted to talk about price, and I said, the one thing that you need to understand is in an objection scenario, you handle it as a complaint until it's verified as an objective. So when the person said, the price is too high, I said, you're right. It's absolutely high. I agree. Quality's high too. Sign here. And he said, no, really, the price is high. And so we talked about it, and I still walked out of there with, over 100% increase in rate. But here's the point. I had taken enough time in the first appointment, in the prospect appointment, to identify what they wanted and what they needed. And so one of the things that you can do, Anastasios, and anybody else listening to this call, identifying a prospect's needs. Okay, there's a couple stages to the initial appointment. Number one is trust and rapport. Stephanie hit on it, where you go to all their social medias, all their social media networks, Twitter, Facebook, consume their content, find out how you can relate to them. You're looking for 3 C's. 3 C's are something you have in common, something you can compliment them on, or something that you can comment on. And so you never, ever go into your product or service or anything about you until you've had a chance to talk to them about them. Now, only do this, Grant Cardone is notorious for saying this, only do this if you actually mean it. Never lie, ever, to your prospect. Okay? If you don't honestly think that shirt looks good, don't say it. Okay? Find something else. Okay? Yeah. So, but once you've nailed down trust and rapport, one of the most powerful transition statements you can make is say, hey, you know what, in order for me to best help you today, in order for me to best help you, I have been able to prepare a list of questions that I would like to go through, and the more honest you are with me and the more upfront with me you are, the better I can help you. And I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, everything we talk about today stays in this room. Okay? So if you're not honest with me, if you're not completely transparent with me, I'm not going to be able to best help you, and you and I are not going to. We're not going to be a fit. So I take it away right up front with the client and let them know that, hey, I'm here to see if I can help you. I'm not here to sell you. I don't even know if I can even freaking help you right now. Mm-hmm. But I really want to, and I've got to ask some questions. So in your situation, Anastasia, when you're selling to a large situation, right?
Yeah.
Here's something else that not only do you have to verify, but everybody listening to this call has to verify. I don't care if you're selling flowers at a flower shop, okay? You cannot sell to someone who can't say yes. Okay? Never take a no from someone who can't say yes. Okay? And never present or have a meeting with people that can't say yes. Now, how do you do that? Number one is on the initial 10 or 15-minute phone call when you're qualifying them, what I like to do is I say, okay, so next Tuesday at 3 is good, right? Great, fantastic. So in order for us to get the best use of our time, we need to make sure every single person that has a stake in this, every single person that's going to be a part of the decision-making process is either at that meeting physically or able to be brought in on Skype or, a conference call. Can you make sure that that happens? Because I don't want you, here's how you say it. I don't want you, Mr. Prospect, to have to sit through the presentation twice. Okay? Notice I didn't say I don't want to waste our time, I don't want to waste your time, or any of that stuff. Okay? And so when I get to the meeting, you want to start off with the very first stage of the meeting is you want to establish reestablish why we're here. And the verbiage is simply this. I'm curious, when we spoke on the phone, you talked about how you wanted to get together and review how you guys are currently evaluating your solar assets and see if there's a better way of going about doing it with a more cost-effective solution. Is that still the main reason we're getting together today? And they're going to say yes. And if they say yes, they'll great. Now, here's where you can save yourself hours. I mean, hours of wasted time. And this is any appointment, any business, any sales scenario that you run in any company. You can simply say this. Hey, I know it's early on in the conversation, and maybe we will work together, or maybe we won't. Now, that is a very powerful statement, and it sets the tone for the meeting because it levels the playing field. So I'm here not only to help you, but you're here to sell me on why I need to work with you as well. So I know it's early on in the conversation, and maybe we'll work together, or maybe we won't. But when it comes time to making that decision, how is that decision made? Is it done with everybody here? Is there, how does that scenario go? Well, we all get together and we make a decision. Great. Is there anybody else that's not here that's involved in that process? No, everybody's here. Great. But let's just say, and this will definitely happen in your situation, Anastasia, is you'll show up and I'll go, well, the president needs to be involved. And now you have a decision to make, and it all comes down to what's called posturing. And this is what allows you to charge a whole lot more money versus just competing on prices. You can simply say, well, why don't we do this? Let's find a time. Can we conference in the president? No, he's traveling. Did he know about this meeting? No, he didn't. Well, when you and I spoke on the phone, I had mentioned that everybody needs to be here. Okay, was I not clear about that? Yeah, but that's not how it works here. Okay, you got a judgment call to make. Depends on where you're at, but you can say something like this: hey, let's reschedule for when the president will be there. Now, here's one thing I want to point out. The only way you're going to have the confidence to say, hey, tell you what, let's reschedule for a time that works with the president. Who's got the president's calendar? Who can call the president right now or send an email, and let's book a time where he can be here, because I don't want you guys to have to sit through this twice. Well, that's not how we do it here. I know that's not how you do it, but that's how I work. Okay? Now, here's the only way you're going to be able to be confident like that. And I got to tell you, man, confidence, Stephanie hit the nail on the head. Confidence is everything in sales. You can charge twice the amount, and they will actually pay it if you have confidence. And the only way to get confidence is to generate enough leads and have enough in your pipeline where you don't need them.
Yeah.
People are drawn to what they can't have. People will pay lots of money to buy stuff, okay, to pay for quality.
Yeah.
It's never about the price. It's about the salesperson's confidence in their ability. What I told this guy last week is I said, you know what? He said, well, I need you to come down, by, I think it was like $250, okay? And I said, I don't need to come down that far, okay? I said, you've been a client for 5 years. I will meet you halfway, but I'm not going to match them. I don't have to. And he goes, why is that? I go, because we don't come with that price. So you can go with them, but you're not going to get the service of me and my client.
Yeah.
So it's either this price or we're not at all. And the only reason we were able to be that strong is we got a massive pipeline. And so in stock deals, what is going to help you dramatically in a sales scenario, for everybody else listening on this call, what's going to help you dramatically when you're running these prospects appointments, have a full pipeline. Have more clients than you can even get to. So when you're there, they got the one opportunity to say yes. If your pipeline's empty, you're like, oh, man, take as much time as you want. I'll follow up with you 25, 30 times. And are you ready? No, that's not what I'm talking about.
Right.
And so make sure that what Stephanie's talking about having confidence, how you get the confidence is when you don't need somebody.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts on that, Steph?
I was going to say, I was just about to ask if I could inject in real quick. But everything, I never price match. In fact, I sent a guy an email the other day, and I've tried out this new lead generation technique that's been working pretty well, but I had someone come back who wanted coaching for $20 an hour. And obviously that did not work out. And so I had another guy reach out, and he's wanting coaching on the exact same topic. And so one of the first things I said was, hey, I don't want to come across as rude or mean about this, but I need to be completely honest with you. Last person I spoke to through this method of lead generation wanted coaching at $20 an hour, and that does not work with my price points. My price is my price. And he goes, oh, my God, I can't believe you just said that, but thank you. Because if you hadn't, first of all, if you've been charging $20, I would have run the other way because you obviously aren't a valuable coach. And second of all, I've never had anyone be able to be that honest and upfront with me. And it's led to the entire conversation with this guy has been 100% honest. Sales gets a bad name for people kind of playing games and not wanting to be honest. And I believe that starts very strongly with the sales rep. If the sales rep plays games and the sales rep doesn't want to be 100% honest and authentic, then you're going to get the same thing. You know, human beings are mirrors. I've taught this since I was a kid when I was working with horses. Human beings are mirrors. We're going to put back exactly what you do. So if you're confident in your product, you know, you're setting up the stage for the entire relationship with them. That confidence you walk in there with, the unwillingness to budge, they'll look at you as an authority because you know more than they do. And that's the thing that I have to get a lot of my clients to understand. You know more about your industry than they do. Be the authority. Don't be afraid to come across as an authority because, let's be honest, they don't know what they don't know. And they think they know a lot, and they really don't. So a lot of it is about confidence, you know. But one of the things I was going to say to answer your question, and this, again, applies to anybody on the call, but one of the things that you taught me, John, was to take the question all the way out. You see, I would take a question. I would ask one question, you know. So, for example, why are you deciding to reach out to me now for this help, right? So in your case, Anastasia, what made you guys decide right now that you want to get this review done? And they'll tell you, oh, well, you know, we decided we need to sell it. And the instinct is to, once you get the answer to the first question, be done and move on to your next question. But there's a reason that they need to sell it. And so you take it a step further. Okay, what made you decide that you have to sell it right now? And then they tell you, oh, well, you know, the company is redirecting our efforts. We're wanting to focus in another direction. Great. What is that going to mean for you? Figure out how, whatever the conversation you're going to have with them, take that train of conversation all the way through. Don't be afraid to go until you make it, you realize why they're doing it, because we only do things for, you know, really for ourselves. Very selfish people. So ask the question and then keep going with it. Okay, you need to sell it. Why? What's making you need to sell? Oh, you guys are running out of money. Well, are you even going to be able to afford our analysis? So take the questions further. And again, you know, there's an idea that I run into regularly. People are afraid that they're going to come across as pushy or rude by taking these questions further. But again, on the phone, I've been on the phone all day already. It's already 1 o'clock my time. But I was talking with another guy earlier, and he goes, wow, I've never had anybody ask me these questions. I've never had to think through it like this. This is really valuable, just this 10 minutes we've been on the phone. I said, that's great. That's perfect. That's exactly what I want you to feel, that just the initial meeting was valuable for you because I was willing to go places nobody else will.
Mm-hmm. You want them to remember you. I mean, you pointed out perfectly. You want them to remember you long after the meeting's gone, whether they do business with you or not. And so anytime, you know, whether you're doing what Anastasia does, or I notice that Kaman's on the phone, she sells financial services. Jesus is on the line, he sells products and services in the state of California. You know, Nisa sells project management and document management solutions. So no matter what you're selling, you know, it all comes down to people buy for their reasons, not mine, right? Yeah. And so there's a couple of steps. You know, one of the things that put in the agenda for today's call is to give you 7 steps that you can use in an actual initial appointment to get the best out of it. And so let me kind of go through the steps real quick, Steph, and then, you know, you can input and give us your input on this. So number 1 is when you're sitting down with them and you've already gone through the trust and rapport stage, a nice transition would be, you know, so what I have for our agenda today, so it's called an agenda script, you know, so present the agenda, you know, what's the value of the agenda, you know, you want to ask, okay, so here's what I had in mind. I've got a list of questions that are designed to help you get the most out of today's appointment. In order for me to best help you today, I need to go through these. I want to talk about budget. I want to talk about the challenges, obstacles, goals, that sort of thing. And then at the end, if it makes sense, we can set up another appointment to come together where I can present some solutions. So that is if it's a one call, two call, close. One call, two call, close means place a call, I set up an appointment. It takes 2 meetings to close the deal. Okay. A one call, close is I make the phone call, set up the appointment, and at the first appointment, I can actually close the deal. Okay. So depending on what your sales process is, I'm assuming in this scenario, let's just say that there's a follow-up appointment. So I tell them, hey, at the end of our appointment today, I'm going to be looking to see if it makes sense for us to put together a solution. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And then I ask them, okay, how do you feel? How does that sound as an agenda today? And I get their buy-off. Okay, so once I get their buy-off, they give me permission to lead into step number 2, and that is I want to identify the problem. Okay, I can ask about a current initiatives. I can ask about goals and responsibilities. I can ask about successes. I can ask about challenges. Stephanie hit the nail on the head. Whatever answers they give you, don't just take them. People do never, ever, ever give you the true objective or the true challenge or the true obstacle. Some questions that you can ask are as it relates to goals and benefits, as it relates to where they want to go and what they want to accomplish is you can say, tell me more about that. You can also say, all right, repeat back to them. It's called keyword backtracking. You just basically say, okay, so let me get the scenario straight. You want to accomplish this income goal, and by accomplishing this income goal, you're going to be able to drive this car, you're going to be able to have this amount of time. Is that correct? And they're going to say yes and go, I'm just curious, what would having that do for you? And that's a way of taking the conversation deeper. Okay? Let's just say they give you a challenge, because I'm uncovering pain here. So let me get this straight. So you're not able to generate leads in your business, and you're not able to set appointments. Your sales staff, one person's doing one thing, the other person's doing another thing. You don't really have a written process. There's no accountability. And is that correct? Yeah. So I got to ask you, I'm curious, how's that affecting you? How's it affecting the business? And you take the conversation deeper. Okay. Step number 3. Some other things that you want to do in the same meeting is, okay, review alternatives that they've already explored. So would you mind sharing with me what you guys have already done to solve this problem? And they're going to tell you. And then you can take that deeper. And number 4 is you can introduce potential solutions. You can say, okay, well, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? You can start introducing potential solutions to see if they're open to that. One of the best things to do is, have you ever purchased this service before? Have you ever purchased this product or this service before? And you can ask them, okay, how did that go? What made you buy? What led to the decision to purchase that? Number 5 is you can communicate your history of success. So if you've actually had clients that have had success in this scenario, or you've been successful at overcoming these challenges with other clients, you can share that with them. And then you want to leave time for Q&A, especially the bigger the sale, the more important the step is. Do you have any questions for me? Okay. The last step, step number 7, is the absolute most important step. Never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever. That's an absolute, by the way. Never, ever skip this step. Where I see people failing in sales is when they skip this one step. And that is they end the meeting and they don't have any other steps lined up. They say, okay, well, I'll follow up with you, or let's keep in touch, or, we'll connect down the road. Never, ever, ever leave a meeting without another meeting set up. That's if, and only if, you want to do business with them. Okay? So always set up a follow-up appointment. Okay? So to recap, we want to identify their needs. We want to identify possible solutions. We want to, see what their solutions that they've already come up with. Kind of communicate the histories to give them confidence that we know what we're doing. Leave time for Q&A in the meeting with next steps. Now, I will tell you this. If you do this appointment correctly, would you agree with this or not, Steph? You can literally close the sale 85% of the way in this one meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm a huge believer. By the time you finish your first meeting with them, they've already subconsciously, at least, come up with a decision as to whether or not they're going to work with you. Your job is to make that subconscious decision, yes, and make sure that you know exactly what they need to bring that subconscious decision to the surface.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things, if there is a second meeting, right, if your sales process requires 2 meetings, okay, so let me give it to you one way. Let's just say you can close this in the one meeting. You want to practice the close. You want to say, okay, based off this scenario, here's what it's going to take to solve the problem. Here's the contract. Sign here. You're ready to move forward. Whatever your close is. The second, if it requires 2 meetings, okay, if you're selling big ticket items, it most likely requires 2 meetings. Here's what I want you to do before leaving that meeting. Okay, don't skip this step because it's gonna save you. It's going to make the difference between you having a 20% or 10% or 20% closing average versus a 50 to 60% closing average. Again, people buy for their reasons, not yours. So what I like to do at the end of a meeting like this is I say, okay, so let me get this straight. You're looking for a company that has experience in the solar industry, that can come in and evaluate your entire solar field, crunch the numbers, not only grab the data, but also be able to process the data and verify that you're getting a return, verifying that it's performing at spec. If it's not, give you a whole laundry list of, give you an actual plan on how you can fix it and improve it, and then provide you with customer references. Did I understand that correctly? And they're going to say yes. So if I come back with a proposal that meets all of this criteria and more, and it fits within your budget, are you ready to move forward now? And they're going to say yes. And then here's the magic question, because this gives you a right to ask the question. Based on that, the only remaining piece of information I need from you is what is your budget for something like this, or what other bids have you already gotten? Okay. So, again, recap. If I come back with a proposal based on this, and this, are you ready to move forward now? And they're going to say yes or no. Okay, great. What is the budget that you're looking to stick into? Great. Have you gotten any other bids or on this product or service? No. If they say no, great. If they say yes, it's a different strategy. Now, for those of you that are selling big ticket items, here's the scenario, and I'm not going to go in on today's call. I'll probably do a special training call on this. It's called solution selling, right? So if you're selling big ticket items, you get to the end and they go, yep, we got 2 other bids already. Understand you only have 15% chance to close that deal now based on statistics unless you go in and re-engineer the vision, and it's a whole different sales presentation when you come back. If they come back and they say, nope, you're the first one, great. You have about an 85% chance of closing it. You just need to make sure your next presentation is super tight. Okay, but either way, don't leave there without verifying what they want you to come and present. That way you can come back and give it to them. So that's how you do an initial meeting. I know there's a ton more. We're out of time, but there's a ton more information. Stephanie, how do people get a hold of you? How do they connect with you?
Well,
because this is what you do. I mean, this is the world you live in, is sales, training, business, development, that sort of thing. How do people connect with you? What's the best way?
they can grab me. I'll give you 3 ways to connect with me. Do whatever works best for you. You can grab me on Facebook. Just look up Stephanie Scheller. You can connect with my public page. You can grab me on Twitter @SuccessSteph, or you can shoot me an email, Stephanie@thestephaniescheller.com. I would absolutely love to hear from you guys. I welcome, my joke to everyone is I'm in this for the stories. I'd love to hear your story. I'd love to hear your comments, your questions, and see how I can help you out.
Now, where do people go get a copy of your book? Because your book is phenomenal.
Yeah, I encourage you guys, we've got the Amazon all set up now with both the print copies and the Kindle version. If you go to bit.ly, bit.ly/friendpowerbook, it'll take you straight to the Amazon page, and you can grab a copy for yourself. And I highly do recommend it. It's $3 for the Kindle copy, and it will change how you approach everything in your life. I guarantee it.
Fantastic. All right, well, we're out of time. Sorry we didn't get to more Q&A. I'm going to be sending out an email to everyone that registered for today's call. If you did not register for today's call, highly recommend you send me an email. That way I can get that. I'm going to send out a survey because we're going to be laying out the next 3 months of content. We want to base it off of the topics that you're interested in. So send me an email at jpyron@johnpyron.com or text it to me at 916-765-2596. Stephanie, thank you so much for being on today's call.
Absolutely, and thank you for inviting me. I had a blast.
All right. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Great.